Can you guess what the creature is this week without any context?
You're supposed to do that without any context.
Okay. I shall say it is something, this creature is something you talk about constantly. And it is not the Tarask.
I talk about it constantly.
Yes. In some form or another, you talk about it constantly. It is one of the most well-known creatures.
I'm going to be so mad when I find out. I don't even know. I can't even, my brain's not even, giving me an idea.
Okay, you have recently tweeted about it.
I recently tweeted about it? How recent?
Like a day or two?
I tweeted about it?
Now you're going to go back through and look at your tweets, aren't you?
Yeah.
If I give you one more hint, you'll probably figure it out.
Okay.
It starts with a G. Blanks and ghouls out at night. Usually kind of reminiscent of Halloween. An old Halloween saying.
Gremlin?
Closer.
Goblins?
Goblins.
What did I tweet about a goblin?
Goblins and ghouls out at night.
Gremlin energy is what I say. I don't say goblin. That's not the same thing. Matthew just said it's not the same thing.
Oh, I thought you said goblin energy. Who says goblin energy that I know?
Not me. It's gremlin. Goblin energy is this thing over here sitting beside me is what goblin energy is.
Well, gremlin is a kind of goblin.
Yeah, but that's not goblin. How far into goblin are we going today?
A little bit of mythology, a little bit of the media. I didn't find a story.
I didn't know if there was a specific goblin we were speaking of, or if it was just goblins as a whole.
It's just kind of like goblins as a whole, and we got a little bit about hobgoblins, a little bit about redcaps. Since you know now, I shall say hello and welcome, listeners, to the Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem podcast. I'm Silver still, as normal if you've been here, and our wonderful gremlin energy co-host.
I think that my name's Chaotic. Since we're questioning whether or not you're Silver, I might be Chaotic. Might not be. We'll see.
What do you know about goblins?
It really depends. See, this is where we get down to goblin lore. It's so different in so many different areas of both folklore and media.
Just give me a quick overview of something. What is the first thing that comes to mind when you think of goblins?
So I always think of mischief, just some. I always kind of immediately go to tinier goblins. I know that some goblins are not tiny, but I immediately go to tinier goblins that are just there purely to cause BS.
And with that, you will be right. Goblins are kind of chaotic. Most goblins are. The term goblin is kind of like an umbrella term. You can have elves that are goblins. You can have fairies that are goblins. Even orcs. Even orcs could be goblins.
When I picture a goblin, I picture more orc-esque goblins.
Mm-hmm. Like a standard D&D goblin or hobgoblin where they're larger.
Mm-hmm.
In folklore, goblins, pretty much in every single culture, they got some sort of goblin. The most common one known is just a plain goblin that people call, which are related to brownies. Usually they help you out around the house. They usually keep to themselves sometimes. Sometimes they help you out around the house. The ones that everybody really knows of is the hobgoblins in mythology. That is your house helpers. They just want food, and they'll do your chores and stuff for you. They'll help you discipline your children. They'll reward your children if they're good. But whatever you do not give them a piece of clothing, because that is like banishing them from your house.
Oh, no. So the opposite of Dobby. We don't want to free them.
Technically, Dobby was a hobgoblin.
Yeah, he was an elf, but hobgoblin.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling just kind of took some leisure with the lore, because hobgoblins aren't big and strong like in D&D. They're just your regular house helping goblins. They're fond of trickery, mischief. They do odd jobs for you when you're asleep. Small tasks, the dusting, the ironing. And all they want is food. A bowl of cream, some goblins like.
Mm-hmm.
But they will play tricks on you. And they are easily offended.
Oh.
Hobgoblins can also shapeshift into things. Whether it's trees, smoke, people, animals. Then there's the not so nice goblins, which are like the red caps. Have you heard of the red caps before?
I have actually. Briefly, it's been more in passing. I haven't actually sat down and read about them, but yes, I've heard of it.
Okay. Or a red cap are malevolent, I give up. Malevolent. They're not good.
Malevolent. Mm-hmm.
And murderous. They usually live inside ruined castles or keeps. And they murder any traveler who happens to walk by. They dip their hats into the blood of the traveler. If they did not kill on a regular basis, they themselves die when their hats lose all the blood that is inside of them. They wield a heavy iron pike as a weapon. That way they can stab you from a distance. And their boots are made completely of iron. But if you think you're going to outrun one of them just because they have iron boots, you would be wrong, because they are impossibly fast and impossible to outrun.
That I would be slowed down by iron boots. So the fact that they're not is terrifying.
I think you'd be okay as long as you have a bottle of water with you, because then you could just spray their hat down and make them lose all their blood.
Hmm.
But the only other way to get rid of a red cap is through scriptures. You can say it to them and they'll stop attacking you, or you can use a crucifix on them and they'll be banished.
Bible scriptures?
Yes, from what I understood from the notes I seen.
Red cap goblins. Red caps are from biblical times?
I'm going to guess it's probably one of those where Christianity kind of added to their story, like in most other folklore.
If I'm being chased, and this is not any kind of dig on Christianity, if I'm being chased by a goblin, the last thing to come to my mind would be to grab a Bible and read scripture. If I'm being chased by a goblin, I'm immediately picking up something D&D.
Something pointy or sharp. And there is another type of goblin that I got its name and I forgot to write it down. But it lives under the world tree, and these goblins that live under the world tree are constantly trying to saw it down to destroy the earth, destroy the world. But when Christmas comes along, December 25th, they stop sawing the world tree in order to come up and terrorize humans.
Merry fucking Christmas.
And they stay up till like some time in like mid-January. Then they go back down to the world tree, and by this time, the world tree has completely regenerated.
What the fuck's going on? What even is this folklore? What even are these stories?
And they just start all over.
So you're telling me these motherfuckers work all year to get this tree down. They get real close. And during Christmas, they're like, you know what? I got better shit to do. It's time to terrorize human beings. They're up here for a month. And then the tree has already repaired itself. And they do this all over again every year.
Yes.
I don't even know what to say.
That is goblins for you.
I am now, if I see a goblin between the time of Christmas and middle of January, going to just allow this motherfucker to terrorize me because I feel bad that they go back down and all their hard work is just obliterated and they restart.
Hey, trees heal fast. Maybe that tree heals particularly fast. That's kind of all I have for the mythical goblins. And I didn't really get a story. There's a bunch of different stories about goblins, but they're a little long to read on the podcast that I've seen. Mainly about goblins turning bad. There's some about good goblins. There's a particular story about goblins that is super long. They call it The Hobbit. Have you heard of it? It seems to be a well-known book.
Yes, Silver. I've heard of it. It's crazy.
Made by this man Nate called... Now, I just forgot his entire name. Tolkien.
Crazy. I thought it was written by Bilbo.
He's the co-author. He had to make sure that Tolkien had his second breakfast.
I got you. It's funny when I look up Goblin, Gollum is one of the first things to pop up.
I believe they had Gollum as a halfling with goblin qualities.
He was a hobbit to begin with.
Yeah.
So, but then he, transforms because creepy ring and all.
I believe in those books, they list all the orcs as goblins as well. But in the movies, they separate the goblins from the orcs as a visually size key.
Yeah, the visual aspect of the armies.
Any famous goblins you know?
The most famous goblins I have absolute knowledge about are the Green Goblin and the Hobgoblin. Those are my most well-known goblins.
And they're after Spider-Man.
Yeah, they are. Also Labyrinth. I know Jareth and stuff like that, but I guess when you think goblin, I don't immediately go to Jareth. I know he's the Goblin King, in that sense, but when I'm thinking aesthetic, visual, I don't go straight to Jareth. I just don't.
He's the Goblin King, but is he actually a goblin?
Right. We're writing thin lines here, and
Yeah.
we're going to piss off all kinds of people if we start talking about the Goblin King. So we're just going to stop because I refuse to lose that crowd. You guys are all wonderful people. I grew up in a different time and raising about the Goblin King. So we're just going to skip over this entire conversation and go back to the Marvel universe I was talking about. Okay. Thank you.
I've never actually seen Labyrinth.
Stop. Don't do it. Don't do it. We're going to lose people. Don't do it. People are going to stop watching us or listening to us. They're going to be like, they've never watched the Goblin King or they've never watched Labyrinth. It's time to leave. We're done here. Pack your shit. It's time to get out.
That's why Chaotic's the better half of this team.
I don't know that I would call me that, but I'll at least avoid losing the entire Labyrinth set of fans.
So back to Marvel. The Hobgoblin
Back
and the
to the
Green
Green Goblin and Hobgoblin. Let's go.
I made a little bit of a Halloween connection before.
Oh.
The Hobgoblin from Spider-Man throws jack-o'-lanterns. That's my connection.
The Hobgoblin throws jack-o'-lanterns?
Doesn't he? Because he's the orange goblin. The Green Goblin is green per his name.
He does. You're correct. I went to... Because Green Goblin has the grenades that he throws. Mm-hmm. I was thinking for some reason those were the jack-o'-lanterns, but you're correct. It is the Hobgoblin that does the jack-o'-lanterns. It's just that the grenades that the Green Goblin throws have an orangish glow behind them. They're green in nature, though.
So they're kind of like pepper bombs? Like a pepper with a fire inside?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's like, you remember the old chocolate oranges that you used to have to break open? It looks like that. So it looks like somebody broke one open and planted an orange light in the middle. So it's kind of like that. And
they're both riding kind of like bat-shaped things. So I guess the Green Goblins has his face on it. Then there is goblins in pretty much every single MMO, TTRPG, fantasy video game out there. Usually your base starting enemy is a goblin. Usually see it in animes, manga.
Any kind of fantasy, anything, you can pretty much find a goblin.
And they have varieties of them too. Varieties. A variety of them as
Verities.
well. We got variants.
We got them variants.
Someone called Loki in the Time Patrol.
It's hard to love you right now. I'm looking right at you and I'm like, oh man.
I forget what the time agency's called.
It was just so good. It was so good watching it go across your face because you were like, it was like the most blasé way to say it. You were like, somebody call Loki in the time variant. I don't even know what happened there.
Oh, well, yeah, me neither. In D&D, they flushed out the goblins into their own group, the goblinoids, which they include bugbears, redcaps. I believe they put in the Fae. But there's goblins, hobgoblins, bugbears in it. And each got their own type of style in the game. Like the goblins are your weak little foot soldiers that do the hard labor. They will engage in a fight if they know they're going to win, but they'll run away if they know that they're going to lose. And your hobgoblins are like your militaristic chiefs and strategists, as well as your bugbears being like your enforcers and generals and such. Some can use magic, some they're mostly animal companions, animal riders like wargs and giant rats, wolves they ride. Then there's this rule inside the D&D Goblins community that, so you got this community of hobgoblins, goblins, and bugbears living together. Bugbears are lazy, not want to do much besides pick on goblins. Everybody picks on the goblins, but the lowest goblins, the ones that are mutated and just do all the manual labor and cleaning up after the beasts, they get picked on the worst. Well, the goblins also used to have a whole pantheon of gods by themselves. They had different gods for different things, but this one god came around and just slaughtered all the goblin gods. And now he is the goblin god. It's like Magnolia. I don't have this written down anywhere, so that's my best guess at his name. And D&D guys, don't come at me. If you do, run a D&D campaign solely on goblins.
Please.
But he didn't kill them all. Supposedly there's this one goblin god that got away that nobody knows the name of, because if you know the name of it, this guy can track it down and kill it. But every once in a while, the most picked on goblin in the group gains this god's favor, this hidden god's favor. And he transforms. He transforms into a nilbog. I'll let you think on that name real quick.
Nilbog.
Nilbog. Nilbog.
Nilbog.
Yes.
What am I thinking about? Goblin.
Yep.
It's goblin backwards. What the fuck is going on here? What even is this mythology? What have we gotten ourselves into?
So this is D&D mythology for the goblin. A little extra bit since I don't have a story. Well, this Nilbog, he gains like his main thing, besides gaining, godly abilities, is he is unkillable. You can squish him with a rock, you can behead him, he just grows new. He's pretty much just Deadpool of the goblin universe.
Or is Deadpool a goblin?
Deadpool and Nilbog confirmed.
Deadpool is a Nilbog. Just period.
Ryan Reynolds, please get a hold of us at monstersmythsandmayhem@gmail.com.
Ryan Reynolds, if you message our Twitter with confirmation, we won't say a word to Hugh Jackman. Just putting that out there.
He might be. Because goblins are supposed to be horrendously ugly. And look at
Not
Deadpool's
you bringing
face.
up his eggplant face. Not you bringing up his eggplant face.
It's like a 90-year-old scrotum with...
Stop it!
Not gonna do the scene. I actually have no clue if that was even part of it. It's been so long since I've seen it. Just Deadpool face jokes. I can see you Googling it. I see the reflection in your eyes.
You look like an avocado had sex with an older and more disgusting avocado, not gently like it was hate fucking. There was something wrong with the relationship. And that was the only catharsis they could find is violence. Just so everybody got the visual there, and I read the line off. So it was verbatim from Deadpool, not our content. We were both wrong. I said eggplant. You said scrotum. So we were somewhere in the middle there was avocado.
Hopefully somebody's having a good drink when we're saying these and they just spit it all over their car.
Logie, if it was you that spit things everywhere, please notify me.
Ruby listens to this when she drives.
Ruby, please don't crash. Please don't crash. Also, Ducky, if you're listening and you spit out a drink or a cookie, please notify me as well. Thank you.
Breadcrumbs.
Not the duck reference.
Okay. Yeah, that was my media such. Any media you want to add on to? Oh, some famous goblins that are actually good goblins, not just evil. Well, D&D goblins aren't really evil. They're more neutral, but...
Are they?
Yeah, they just want gold. They're money hungry for gold. They want items, just like the Harry Potter goblins. They work at a bank so they can have all the gold.
Yeah.
That time I got reincarnated as a slime. His first kind of people that he make friends with is a group of goblins. That is a good anime if you really like goblins. Anime to watch if you really hate goblins would be Goblin Slayer. And if you have any type of triggers for SA or anything like that, avoid the first episode.
Oh.
It is bad.
Bad.
It is bad.
So to kind of wrap up, unless you've got more to say about our mayhem here or whenever you want to, I have found 10 very interesting facts about goblins.
Let's hear your facts.
Goblins hate horses. Goblins excel at riding animals, but they don't understand horses. Their hatred of all things horse-related is matched by their fear, who tend to step on goblins that get too close. They don't like horses. No horsies.
That's why they ride wolves.
Okay, that's much less scary. Much less.
They don't get stepped on.
Also, we're going to come after goblins for this one. This one's not cool. Goblins hate dogs. Although goblins raise their horrible rat-faced mounts called creatively enough goblin dogs, their hatred of plain everyday dogs nearly matches their hatred of horses. Goblins are quite adept at riding wolves and wargs. They are quick to explain such animals are not dogs. Freaks. They're absolute freaks. It's absolutely wrong.
How do you... I don't understand how they justify a wolf not being a dog.
Apparently, that makes them a mount, not a dog. They are not a dog because you can't mount an everyday dog.
I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they've met a Great Dane.
Or a Mastiff. I think there's actually a Mastiff in D&D you can mount.
I don't know. Goblins raid junkyards. Garbage pits, sewers, gutters, anywhere there's garbage, you can be sure to find a goblin nearby. Goblins are weirdly adept at crafting weapons and armor and refuse to find and relish killing people with the things they throw away.
Understandable.
Goblins love to sing. Sadly for them, they suck at it.
Dissing their singing voice.
They're fine. They're sneaky little freaks. That's exactly how this post says it. An excited or angry goblin is noisy, chattering, toothy menace, but they can drop into an unsettling silence in a heartbeat. Their diminutive sign allows them to get unnervingly adept into hiding places you'd never expect. Stacks of wood, rain barrels, under logs, under chicken coops, and in ovens.
So what you're telling me is they'd be perfect contestants for Hole in the Wall.
Absolutely. They're a little crazy. The fact that they tend to be easily distracted, particularly by shiny things and small animals, might make good eating limit their ability to execute even well thought out plans. So
Reminds,
they have a really, really good plan. You throw out a piece of gold, it's over. Plans foiled.
reminds me of Shank.
It is Shank. They're voracious. Given enough supplies, a goblin can eat nearly a dozen meals a day. Most goblin tribes don't have enough supplies to satisfy ravenous appetites, which is why little menaces are so prone to raiding.
They're just hungry.
No. They like fire. Goblins tend to live in large, tangled thistle patches and sleep on beds of dried leaves. Give a goblin a torch in someone else's home, they're in goblin heaven.
I heard that they're also fireproof.
Maybe. I don't know.
In some stories, goblins are fire resistant, fireproof.
These last two facts are my favorite. They get stuck easily. Goblins have wiry frames, but wide heads. They like to sneak around, and sometimes the body continues and the head does not. There's so many things I picture.
Step goblin, I'm stuck.
Oh, we gotta rate the stream explicit now. It's done.
It's always explicit.
You're gonna have to make it adult content now.
Nah, not for that.
He did the joke you think he did. Yep. The
Songbird told me to do that.
No, oh yeah, I bet Songbird did tell you to do that. Was it Shank that forced you? The 10th and final fact that is one of my favorites. Goblins believe that writing steals your soul. The walls of goblin lairs and ruins of towns goblins have raided are littered with pictures of their exploits, but they never use writing. Writing is not lucky. Writing, they believe, steals the words out of their head, and once they're gone, they can't get them back. So there's no goblin authors.
It's kind of true, though.
You know what? As a writer, I want to fight you right now. So
Bring it.
What happens if I pull up? What happens? You gonna come out and fight? You gonna throw fists?
Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you're a liar.
Then we'll get some popcorn and watch The Hobbit.
Lamageddon. Watch all of the Lord of the Rings. All of it. Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
We'll watch a Trask documentary.
I will fall asleep. I promise.
Got the goblin energy trying to instigate chaotic.
See? Goblin energy?
Gremlin
energy. Goblin energy. Gremlin energy. Different.
You're pointing at not my screen in my picture.
I'm pointing at your screen in my picture. And if I'm not pointing at your screen in your picture, I'm pointing at Tiff. So it doesn't matter either way. Okay. So either way, I'm pointing.
I like those facts.
Yes, they were very good.
We had a Nuggies in waiting lobby, then he left.
Oh, Nuggies come back.
Well, with that little bit of mayhem, I guess we shall continue on to the mayhem.
I guess.
Hello, Nuggies.
Hello.
You have come to join us for the mayhem. We should let Chaotic explain.
I mean, as far as mayhem goes when it comes to goblins, I think that all of your behavior this entire podcast has explained all of the mayhem that a goblin could cause. Also, I would like to say, if we're going by true goblin folklore where they like teach kids shit, where can I get one? Can I rent one? Can I buy one? Can I just keep one and not give it a piece of clothing?
I think if you probably leave a bowl of cream maybe out on your front porch, you might bring some sort of fake creature in.
I'm going to bring something in. I'm guaranteeing it's not a goblin. We're not leaving cream out on the porch. That sounds all kinds of questionable, especially after the shit you just said about step goblins. Okay? So we're leaving nothing out on the porch.
What are you doing, step goblin?
Nope, I'm leaving. No, I'm done.
It's the second time that joke's been made. Hey, if you have a dog door, it could happen.
I will leave this chat so fucking fast. You'll never even know it hit you. You have to do the whole end of the podcast by yourself.
If we go to mythological goblins, like you said, yeah, they wouldn't cause too much mayhem, except for at the household level, unless there is, because there's not really a lot of them all in one place. They're not a community type fae like the D&D states they are, or most of the other media types that represent goblins that I've seen.
I agree.
Because usually all I've seen is usually just one per household.
Now, if we go by like the D&D structure, or even like the like Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, I feel like it would be very, and I know that we just went through this whole thing where gremlins and goblins were different, but I feel like it would be like the movie Gremlins. They would just be destroying shit unnecessarily. They'd be raiding towns. They'd be... Shank's over here going like this, and I just want everybody to know. I'm sorry, nobody can see me right now. Shank's over there doing the rock on sign. I think she meant rock on. She was doing the I love you. But she meant the rock on, and I just want you guys to know that if Shank ever actually becomes a thing, protect all of your milk.
Yes, Shank is a... Those who don't know are a D&D group. Shank is Songbird, and it's a goblin that gets drunk on milk.
And is dating a half-orc, half-tiefling, werewolf-shifting jerk. So just don't. I refuse to say that on this podcast. She reminded me about their weapon. Yeah, that's right. Yep. We refuse to talk about it.
Yeah, I think the one mythological goblin that would cause issues is the red cap, because it has to keep killing in order to keep its hat full of blood. But
all we could do, I mean, humanity could just walk around with water bottles.
Or crucifixes.
Or a Bible. just start reading Bible verses and it'll go away.
Just spray them down with bleach.
Spray down with bleach?
Yeah. Bleach the hat away.
It makes me think of, have you ever watched My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
No. You know I don't watch movies.
Okay, I don't even know why I asked anymore. The father in that thinks he can fix everything with Windex. A pimple, a scratch, a bruise, something going on in the car, something hurts, he sprays you with Windex. So I'm just picturing all of us running around with bleach bottles, thinking we can fix everything with bleach.
We'll make special holsters.
It's like the Wild Wild West, but we switched to bleach spray instead.
Yeah, the D&D, switching over to the D&D variants of goblins, it'd be a little bit more difficult to fight them. It'd be like fighting a small child, unless you come up against a hobgoblin or a bugbear. Then it's like fighting a full-size adult that they have more muscles.
They would definitely be more of a menace. I think, like, getting into D&D and, like, media goblins would definitely be harder to get a grasp on.
Yeah, and they come in so much of a swarm because they always stick together, the little goblins do. So they would take it on one or two of them would be okay, but once you get like 15 of them surrounding you, that might be a little bit difficult.
Bleach is still effective in this situation. Just spray for the eyes.
Well, yeah. I would imagine so. Now, I think the major ones that we will have issues with is if we get all of the goblins from Lord of the Rings in.
Agreed.
Because those are the orcs, the goblins in there are all coming over. I think Middle Earth had its own troubles with them before.
Yeah, they're considered a creature of like the darkness.
Yeah.
So they were evil.
They turned to stone though in the daylight, so.
Mm-hmm.
which is a trait of trolls that got moved over to them, I believe.
Trolls and goblins and orcs all kind of get meshed together a lot. Because there's plenty of trolls in like fairy tales even that have more goblin characteristics than they do technically troll characteristics.
That is true.
If we were dealing with like Harry Potter Wizarding World goblins, I know we don't see them a whole lot in the movies, but in the books they're actually pretty volatile. They can get really, really mean. So I feel like anything other than the original folklore about like the household goblins and stuff, it would be an annoyance at the least and dangerous at the max. Like, again, I don't think it's like Tarrasque level anything, but definitely an intrusion on everyday life for sure.
Yeah, didn't they like almost didn't they tame an own dragon to hide inside the bank to guard their gold?
They abused a dragon.
Yeah.
It was animal abuse what they were doing to the dragon, and they were keeping it down there to protect its most to protect the Dark Lord's assets.
Yeah.
They were not good. They were not good creatures.
Okay. Now the question now that I learned from last episode, we got the Tarrasque as the main, or Godzilla as the strongest kind of. Well, you know goblins aren't any match for those two. But what about Ghostface?
Okay, are we talking one-on-one with Ghostface, or are we talking a herd of goblins?
Let's say 3.
3 goblins versus Ghostface?
Yeah, they're unarmed.
Give me which universe goblin?
D&D.
I
The
think
little
Ghostface
green
would
man.
lose. I think Ghostface would lose. Just because, number one, he has a mask hindering his sight, and they're tiny. They're tiny mofos, and they will attack him. They'll be stabbing him in his back before he even realizes they ran by him. And then another thing is Ghostface's strongest suit is fear, like instilling fear by calling them and making them wary about what's in the house. That goblin's not answering that phone. The goblin is the one calling. No, the goblin is the one calling. They're the 3 goblins in a trench coat absolutely just blasting this man out of life. So no, I don't think he would win. If we're talking like I don't know. He could maybe take on like 1 goblin at a time. I think like one-on-one he'd be all right. But again, one of the coolest things about Ghostface is that as movie killers go, he's one of the only ones that's actually human. He doesn't like die and come back as the same person each time. He's not like Michael Myers and Jason. Michael Myers and Jason, do I think they could take 3 goblins at once from the D&D verse? Yes, because they could die and get back up. Eventually the goblins will die because they get up so many times. The goblins would eventually all get taken on one by one and die. Ghostface isn't like that. Ghostface is just a teenager in a mask usually. So I think we're all, as once having been teenagers in a mask, I think we're all going to scream and cry when those goblins start stabbing us everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't want to fight little things. I'm good. It's hard to see them. You can't swing at them when you can't see them.
And they're good hiders. They're just as good as Ghostface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he thinks he's hiding from them. He hides in a closet, and there's already 2 in there staring at him with glowing eyes. Yeah, no, he would lose. It would be over.
He goes to pull the string, and it's a goblin's finger. He pulls the finger, and it farts. He's like, oh, no.
Literally, it would be mayhem to the max.
All right, and I guess that wraps up our mayhem section.
One question. I have one question for you. Who wins in a fight? Goblins or Kappas?
They're about the same height. Are we talking D&D goblins or mythological?
D&D goblins.
Like a red cap. Okay. I was going to say a red cap would definitely probably win, but D&D
We're talking
goblins...
like, okay, like, so same instance, D&D goblins, 3 of them, against a Kappa.
Oh, yeah, the goblins probably. They'd probably just knock him over.
Okay, all right. I was
just
seeing where we stood.
Once he spills his water, he's stuck. So.
Okay, say the goblins are in the water.
Oh, in the water, the Kappa, no issue.
You think he'd win?
Yeah, in the water, that's his home turf. He's got super speed under there. You can't spill his water. He'll just swim up behind them, steal their
butt gems.
the butt gems. Yes. He gets
Okay.
3 butt gems, no issues.
All right. I see.
Do
I have them on
goblins
the
have
same level
those?
of like mischief. They have a butthole, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
If they have a butthole, then they've got the butt gem. The magical butt orb.
It'd be a rare treat for the kappas.
We're all right. It's time to log out. We're done. We have our people.
Thank you all for listening. Thank you to our 3 patrons, Mondi, Thor, and Ruby. Hello, this is Editing Silver here. I'd just like to throw in that we got another new patron, and that is Nuggies. Hi, Nuggies. Okay, now back to the recording, the episode.
And if you think about being a Patreon, if you're a level 3, like top, if you're our top tier in Patreon, you get a shout out when you visit my stream. So every time Ruby comes to visit, I'm always like, did you guys know that Ruby is like a #1 supporter of the podcast?
I thought we'd do shout out your 24-hour stream, but that's Saturday, and this comes out Monday.
RIP. So if you were at the 24-hour stream, thank you.
The goblins will get you if you don't watch out.
Technically, we shouted it out last podcast because we talked about it, and I said what day it was
That's
and
right.
stuff. So
Yeah.
it's fine. We got it. We just didn't say we were playing D&D. Join us again next Monday for another episode of Monsters, Myths, and Mayhem, found on Apple, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Anchor.fm. Silver and Chaotic talk about how they came to be and how they would be received in modern day society. Follow, like, and subscribe to
Peanut butter.
Join Peanut Butter, us again, Peanut Butter. Next Monday, Peanut Butter. For Peanut Butter, another Peanut Butter episode, Peanut Butter. Peanut Butter Monsters.
That works.
We're out. I'll see you guys later. You better copy and paste the other one because I don't even know what's happening anymore.
Nope, I'm just going to use that one.
Okay, perfect. See you guys next Monday.
Bye-bye.
Roll the music.
Get me out of here.